Preparing for a fund administration and corporate services at Ocorian interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. What do you know about Ocorian, and why do you want to work here? Ocorian is a global provider of fund administration, corporate services, capital markets support, and private client solutions. What attracts me is the mix of technical accounting, governance, regulation, and client service. I would expect the role to demand accuracy under deadlines, clear communication with managers and investors, and strong control discipline. That suits me because I enjoy structured work where small details affect client confidence and regulatory outcomes. While answering, focus on Ocorian's global fund administration, corporate services, capital markets, and private client offering. Then link your motivation to accuracy, deadlines, governance, client service, and regulated financial operations. Question 2. Can you walk me through the NAV calculation process for an investment fund? A NAV is the fund's net assets attributable to investors at a valuation point. I would start by gathering bank, broker, portfolio, and investor data. Then book income, expenses, fees, accruals, subscriptions, and redemptions. I reconcile cash and holdings, price investments using agreed valuation sources, review movements against expectations, and calculate investor-level allocations. The final NAV should be supported by evidence, reviewed independently, and delivered within the client's agreed timetable. Make sure to cover the full NAV workflow: source data collection, accounting entries, reconciliations, pricing, fee accruals, investor allocations, review controls, and timely delivery under the fund administrator's service level agreement. Question 3. How would you process a capital call and a distribution for a private equity fund? For a capital call, I would check the LPA notice period, commitment percentages, purpose of the drawdown, and investor bank details. If a fund needs $10 million and one investor has 5% of commitments, their call is $500,000 unless exclusions apply. For distributions, I would confirm available cash, waterfall rules, recallability, equalization, and tax withholding. The key is matching the legal terms to accurate notices, postings, and investor reporting. In your answer, talk about LPA terms, investor commitments, notice periods, equalization, waterfall provisions, cash availability, tax considerations, accounting entries, and the importance of accurate investor communication. Question 4. What checks are important when onboarding a new fund investor? Investor onboarding protects the fund, manager, and administrator from financial crime and regulatory breaches. I would collect identity documents, ownership structures, source of funds information, tax forms, and sanctions or PEP screening results. For entities, I would identify ultimate beneficial owners and control persons. If anything looks inconsistent, I would escalate before accepting money. Good onboarding also makes FATCA, CRS, and ongoing investor servicing much smoother later on. Be sure to mention KYC, AML, sanctions, PEP screening, beneficial ownership, source of funds, tax forms, risk rating, documentation completeness, and escalation when investor information is unclear or inconsistent. Question 5. You find a bank reconciliation difference close to a reporting deadline. How do you handle it? When I investigate a reconciliation break, I first classify it: timing, missing transaction, incorrect amount, duplicate entry, FX issue, or pricing difference. Then I trace it to source documents, bank statements, broker reports, or accounting entries. I do not force a reconciliation. I document the cause, book the correction if justified, and obtain review approval. Persistent breaks may indicate process gaps, valuation problems, or information delays from third parties. While answering, focus on classifying the break, tracing source documents, avoiding unsupported adjustments, documenting the investigation, escalating material issues, and protecting the accuracy of NAV or financial reporting. Question 6. What would you do if a NAV or client deliverable deadline was at risk? If a NAV deadline is at risk, I would not stay silent hoping it resolves. I would identify the blocker, assess materiality, and alert my manager early. Then I would prioritize critical tasks, request missing data from the client or custodian, and agree a realistic delivery plan. If estimates are needed, they should be clearly approved and disclosed. The client relationship is protected by transparency, not last-minute surprises. Make sure to cover early escalation, identifying the blocker, prioritizing critical tasks, communicating with internal reviewers and clients, documenting assumptions, and maintaining quality rather than hiding the delay. Question 7. What are the main responsibilities involved in administering an SPV or holding company? An SPV needs more than bookkeeping. It needs legal, governance, and statutory discipline. I would maintain registers, track directors and shareholders, arrange board meetings, prepare minutes and resolutions, monitor filing deadlines, and coordinate accounts, tax, and bank administration. I would also check that transactions match approvals and constitutional documents. Good entity administration gives investors, lenders, and regulators confidence that the structure is properly controlled and compliant. In your answer, talk about statutory records, board meetings, minutes, resolutions, filings, accounts, tax coordination, banking, transaction approvals, and keeping the entity compliant with its constitutional documents. Question 8. How would you prepare for a board meeting and draft effective minutes? Minutes should evidence decisions, not become a transcript. I would prepare a clear agenda, circulate accurate board papers, confirm quorum and conflicts, and record key discussion points, decisions, approvals, and action owners. For regulated or transaction-heavy entities, I would be especially careful around valuation, financing, distributions, and related party matters. Strong minutes protect directors because they show the board considered relevant information and followed a proper governance process. Be sure to mention agenda planning, board pack accuracy, quorum, conflicts of interest, resolutions, action points, evidence of decision-making, and ensuring minutes are clear without being a full transcript. Question 9. What would you review when preparing fund or corporate financial statements? I would start with the reporting framework. Because International Financial Reporting Standards FRS 102, Luxembourg Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, or another basis can change presentation and measurement. Then I would tie the trial balance to supporting schedules, confirm investments in cash, review accruals, fees, related party balances, and disclosures. For funds, I would focus heavily on fair value hierarchy, capital activity, and risk notes. The accounts must be technically correct, internally consistent, and audit-ready. While answering, focus on the reporting framework, trial balance accuracy, reconciliations, investment valuation, accruals, related party disclosures, risk notes, audit support, and consistency between schedules and financial statements. Question 10. How do management fees and carried interest calculations work in fund accounting? Management fees are usually formula-driven, but mistakes happen when the base changes. I would read the LPA to confirm whether fees are charged on commitments, invested capital, NAV, or a step-down base. For carry, I would check the preferred return, catch-up deal-by-deal or whole fund model, and clawback provisions. I would calculate independently, compare to prior periods, and ensure investor allocations reconcile to the waterfall and financial statements. Make sure to cover reading the LPA, fee bases, step-downs, preferred return, catch-up, clawback, deal-by-deal versus whole fund waterfalls, investor allocations, and independent review. Question 11. How would you respond if a client challenged your work or was unhappy with a deliverable? If a client challenges a deliverable, I would first listen and separate facts from frustration. Then I would review the file, source data, and approval trail before responding. If we made an error, I would acknowledge it, correct it, and explain the control improvement. If the work is correct, I would calmly show the supporting evidence. In administration, technical accuracy matters, but trust is built through ownership, responsiveness, and professional communication. In your answer, talk about listening first, checking facts, reviewing support, taking ownership of genuine errors, explaining corrections, staying professional, and using the issue to improve controls. Question 12. How do you use Excel or automation to improve fund administration work? Excel, is valuable when it improves control, not just speed. I use formulas such as XLOOKUP, SUMIFs, pivot tables, and reconciliations to analyze large investor or transaction data quickly. But I would protect key cells, use checksums, label assumptions, and keep source data separate from workings. For recurring NAV or reporting tasks, a clean template reduces manual errors and makes review easier for managers and auditors. Be sure to mention practical tools like XLOOKUP, SUMIFs, pivots, templates, and checksums, while emphasizing data integrity, version control, reviewability, and avoiding uncontrolled spreadsheet risk. Question 13. How would you protect confidential client and investor information? Confidentiality is central because administrators hold investor identities, bank details, valuations, legal documents, and board information. I would only use approved systems, check recipients before sending files, password protect sensitive documents, and avoid discussing client matters in public settings. If I noticed a data breach or misdirected email, I would escalate immediately. Strong confidentiality is not just policy, it is fundamental to client trust and regulatory compliance. While answering, focus on investor data, bank details, valuations, legal documents, secure systems, access controls, recipient checks, password protection, breach escalation, and the link to client trust. Question 14. Which regulations or compliance areas are relevant to a fund administrator like Ocorian? Regulation affects everyday administration, not just legal teams. FATCA and CRS drive tax classification and reporting. AML rules affect onboarding and ongoing monitoring. AIFMD influences fund reporting, depository oversight, and governance. Economic substance rules matter for entities. I would not pretend to be the lawyer, but I would understand operational requirements, follow checklists, keep evidence, and escalate unusual cases before deadlines or filings are compromised. Make sure to cover AML, KYC, FATCA, CRS, AIFMD, economic substance, reporting deadlines, evidence retention, and the need to escalate legal or regulatory uncertainty to specialists. Question 15. How do you prioritize work during a busy month-end or quarter-end close? At quarter end, I would prioritize by deadline, materiality, dependency, and client impact. A NAV waiting on pricing may need escalation before a routine report. I would maintain a task list, flag blockers early, and communicate realistic status updates. I also build in review time because rushed work creates rework. The strongest administrators are not simply busy, they control workflow, protect quality, and keep stakeholders informed. In your answer, talk about ranking tasks by deadline, materiality, dependency, and client impact, maintaining a tracker, escalating blockers early, protecting review time, and communicating realistic status updates. If you are still with us, congratulations. You are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.